Nieuport 17, a French fighter from World War I, successor to the Nieuport 11 and predecessor to the Nieuport 24 and 27. Although a biplane, the Nieuport 17 is technically a sesquiplane, meaning a biplane that has one wing, usually the lower, that is significantly smaller than the other. Introduced in March 1916, the type's outstanding maneuverability and excellent climb rate gave it a significant advantage over fighters on both sides, and was described as the best pursuit plane of the day. It was used by many nations, mainly France and Britain, Italy and Russia, as well as Germany, who made unlicensed copies, notably the Siemens Schuckert D1. Columbus model here, and this video I'll be building the Academy 1:32 scale Nieuport 17, which is their First World War Centenary edition. Let's get into it. So on this model I'm going to try and do a few different things. Mainly pre-shading. I'm going to try and figure out how to do pre-shading on not just the interior but on the wings as well. This is going to be a silver aircraft, so I want to really try and get that sort of pre-shaded look, especially with the ribs of the wings. I think it's going to look quite good, because on the last biplane I made, the Sop with Camel, I ended up highlighting on the wings, whereas this time I want to try and pre-shade them. Just because with silver, trying to get two different types of silver on there and highlight with it is going to be a little bit difficult versus pre-shade and just build up some light layers to try and bring it out. So we're going to try that, but first up we're going to build the interior. It's very, very basic. One thing I like about these Academy kits, they're very good for practicing for, say, wingnut wings or something like that. So what's good about this kit is the the dashboard or control panel, whatever you want to call it. Comes with this photo etch and decals, so instead of trying to paint this all and whatnot, you can just use decals. So this is my first attempt at the pre-shading, just with the interior. I'll hopefully get the color codes right. So I'm just going to go along all the recessed, well, these aren't recessed, these are actually raised panel lines, and just use a flat black and then go over with Tamiya's Desert Yellow. And just build it up lightly. As you can see there, it kind of shows through. This is mainly a practice on the inside because you won't see any of it anyway, but it was good to practice. The interior is very basic, but it does a very good representation of the inside of a biplane, so yeah, it all fits very well together. This kit, even though it's Academy, it's actually a old hobbycraft tooling, and closing it up, it actually fits pretty well, even for an old hobbycraft tooling, so these kits are very good to, as I said, practice on. They're actually quite enjoyable. Not too many parts, but well detailed enough for their cost. This one only cost me about $30 to buy. And it does come with some nice extras, including this photo etch, which I was putting on top of the plastic molding. Most of the time you can scrape off the plastic molding. I didn't want to do that because I kind of wanted it a bit more raised, just to show off the effect. And then I was doing the canopy. You have to mask it off first, and you do have to plan it out a little bit on how you're going to put it together, but it's not too difficult. So I was going to keep everything in subsections, you know, wings, fuselage, all that. So I'm just building up the parts so I can prime them all at once and do everything like that. And then once everything is painted and finished, decaled, then I'll start putting it together. So I gave the fuselage and everything at the same time a coating of AK primer, and then went over with AK, I want to say, yes, AK white aluminium. They're extreme metals, which is one of my favorite paints. These things are really cool. So while I still was doing the fuselage and it was all varnished, then I went over with the decals. I chose this very cool red decaling with a red stork, I want to say it is. I think it's a stork. But yeah, big red stork, big 12 on it. It's got a green cross that goes on the top of the fuselage and the pilot's name underneath it. So it's a very striking looking color and decal set, so I quite like it. That's why I went with it. It does come with an Italian Nieuport 17, but I felt like something French. I haven't got many French or Italian actually, so yeah, either or. But these decals, they're a bit thick, they're a bit papery, prone to silvering, but they're alright. They just don't like setting solution that much. As you can see with this green cross, it is slightly too big for the fuselage compared with the diagram. So I just ended up folding it over and just keeping it as is. It was nice enough, so why not keep it? it does look very striking. I do like colourful biplanes, hence why I chose this one. Okay, so we're going to try pre-shading the wings, just going with the flat black again over everything. So all the little struts, all the edges, everything. Because this is my real first attempt at doing anything like this. I've been watching a whole lot of videos on how to, but never really attempted it before, so figured out, might as well give it a try, see how well it works. So originally I was just going to do the wing roots. No, not wing roots, the wing supports, but then decided to do just every edge possible, just to try it out. Really, I wanted to see how it look like, because if it didn't end up working in the end, I'll just go over the whole thing and you won't see it. So I used the AK white aluminium again. Just think it took about 6 layers before I could build up an opacity I liked. Also with this stuff, definitely use a respirator. It's pretty toxic. But this is after 6 coats, and I think it actually worked out fairly well. You guys will need to let me know what you think, but I think it worked out well enough. The shading does show the ribs in the wing, but also it kind of highlights itself at the same time, just with the top of the ridges, so I think it worked out quite well. This is the lower wing. Now the decals are not that good. They're quite thick. They really do not want to conform, even no matter how much setting solution I used and pressure, and yeah, it just did not want to conform at all. But that's, yeah, it was a $30 kit. What do you expect? So here is another reason I chose this big red number 12 decal set, and it's just because it's got a giant red 12 on it and it just stands out and looks amazing. But you have to be very careful with these decals, because yeah, they didn't even want to stick to the model that well. I mean, the roundel on the right, when I was trying to airbrush over some varnish, it actually blew it off the wing, which I've never encountered before. So that was after much swearing and blasphemy. Eventually I got it back again. So yeah, I would say if you've got the time and money and you've got a spare set of decals from another company, use them. Don't use these, because they're just not that good at all. So that's the wings done. Decided to do the propeller, of course, using the wood oil grain effect. So first using a coat of deck tan, and then mixing up a thin, thickish wash with oil paint, mainly with burnt umber and sepia, and just brushing it over thickly. You don't have to be too fanciful with it right now. You just want to get the paint on there and the thinner evaporated. Because then once you do that, you just use a stiff brush and then just create a wood effect on the propeller, and it looks pretty good. And then I gave it a matte satin I used satin varnish over the top of it. So after I did the propeller, I'd put the engine together. It's only got 4 parts. I have a feeling it's actually a fairly good representation of the engine the Nieuport 17 used. I was using a reference photo, and even though basic, it's close enough. So I gave it a couple of coats of the white aluminium again, and then mixed up a bronzy color for these pipes. I'm not too sure what they are, but the references I'm using, they were bronzy color, so that's what I did them as. And then with these sorry, I'm not good with engines, so my descriptions are not going to be that good. But all I know is, using references, these parts were significantly darker in metal color than the center, so instead of changing a different color, I just used a heavy wash on it and it changed it almost perfectly. So yeah, now with things that are finished, decide to start putting all the sub-assemblies together. Can make it finally start looking like an aircraft. So everything has been done in the white aluminium, the AK Extreme Metals white aluminium, and it looks pretty good. Of course, there's less wood grain effects than the Sopwith Camel, but I don't mind too much. The tail assembly's not the best. Just the way that it all sits with seam lines and stuff in the way. You've got to do a lot of sanding to get things to fit. The tail decals were atrocious, so I tried putting them on, and they tried sticking down, and then I didn't like them. They were tearing, so I tried to scrape them off, and they weren't. I sprayed paint over them, but I'm not going to show a close-up detail. With the Vickers and Lewis guns, I used a flat aluminium color on them, and then darkened them with the Tamiya wash just to give them more of a darkened metallic look, and also just to differentiate itself from the main fuselage. It was looking a bit too same, so yeah, decided on that. With the wing struts, they are wood, and they also come with photo etch for the bracing, so decided, well, why not? So just using the Icky Sticky thick CA glue, favorite stuff in the world, so real good stuff. And just working the photo etch around the ridges where they're supposed to sit. I'm not that good with photo etch, as you can probably tell, but I'm learning. A lot of the kits I make don't have a lot of photo etch, so yeah, whenever I can. So here's how the struts look now with the photo etch, which gives it a nice sort of 3D effect as well. Does look very cool. It looks way better with the photo etch on versus without it, and it's got these little rivet details in them, and yeah, they just look pretty cool. So time to start painting them. There is a bit of lost footage in this, I will admit. So I used a base of the Tamiya Desert Sand or Desert Yellow, and then after that I used the flat aluminium on the struts, on the bracings, and then used the oil paint wood effect again on them all. But yeah, I don't have the footage for that, sorry. Does look cool, I promise. And the last bit to paint is just the wheels mixed up. What was it now? Flat black and dark sea grey to create a more tire color. Not straight flat black, because that's a bit too dark. Tires are usually got more of a lighter grey tone to them than fully black. So yeah, it just flattened out the color quite a bit as well, and made it look real nice. Eventually, I'm gonna make a base for this one to sit on, just a simple grass type base, and that's when I'll do a bit of weathering with dirt and stuff, you know, to make it look used. But for now, it's just going to be a clean build, which I also quite like as well. It's, you know, museum quality. Now, I will say putting the wings on is, with any biplane, a pain in the ass, but this one especially, it's an old hobby craft, so things, okay, I was saying that things fit well, as well, I'm going to say, preferences to say, as well as hobbycraft can be. We'll say that. So, the top wing, as you'll see, I had some difficulties trying to put on just because of fragile parts, and yeah, the top wings of biplanes, they're a pain in the ass to try and put on. I don't enjoy it too much. And just trying to put this little part back on. I don't even know what this part is for. I've been trying to search for it, but if anyone knows what these little weird batten things are, please let me know. I have no idea what they are. And last point before doing the rigging is attaching the Lewis gun on the top. Oh, and the propeller once it finally dried. Did have a little bit of issue with the propeller fit. Probably should have dry fitted it before, but I think I didn't, because on the Camel I pushed it on to dry fit and it never came off, so it's not even glued down. This time I will show you how I did the rigging, and it was a sort of lesson in patience. I was having issues for some reason with the super glue as well. It was instead of drying, it was going tacky and, you know, like sort of stringy, like a bit like Uhu sort of glue. Like, yeah, it wasn't setting as fast as it should have. I think most of it set overnight, which means I could only like attach one end of all the rigging and then had to come back and attach the other half the next day. But you can see the rigging is actually fairly simple on this this aircraft. It's not too bad. I mean, it's a basic representation of a Nieuport 17. It's not fully detailed like a wingnut wings, but they are good to practice on if you want to get into this sort of 32nd scale biplane. So, and for their price port, you know, it's $30 say versus a wingnut $200, $300. So yeah, it's good to practice on something before you commit to something like that. The wing rigging was definitely a bit of a pain in the ass though. Rigging is a very good lesson in patience and precision, and yeah, you learn how to have patience real fast, because if you don't, it's not going to work out well. But so because I forgot that Lewis gun is on the top there, so of course you have to accommodate for that. You can't just put it straight on the upside down on the top wing, which I did initially, and yes, I did snap the gun off. Lesson learned. But yeah, so attaching one point of the rigging and then having to wait overnight for the glue. But yeah. Now, before I show you the end results, if you could just hit the subscribe button, the like, the notification, all of that bollocks. Or if you don't, that's fine as well. Follow me on Instagram, columbus.models, whole bunch of builds going on there. And follow me and my mates on the Micro Machines podcast. We talk everything vehicles and modeling. And this is the final result. My Academy 1 to 32 scale Nieuport 17. So these kits are, even with their faults, they are still a lot of fun to build. And they're great for practice. And they do look quite good on the display. So I always grab one if I can find one. Unfortunately, there's not many, but if I ever find one, I'll grab it. But until the next video, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.